welcome back to the channel. To begin this video, I want to start with giving an update and just sort of putting some information out there. For those of you who have been subscribed to my channel, and for those of you who are connected to me on Facebook, you'll know recently that I've been talking about working on a Patreon page, and I uploaded a link on Facebook the other day so that you could go and check that out. I wanted to let everyone know the page is now live. So I'm super excited about that, and I'm really looking forward to getting into that content. I've been working on the Facebook group and writing down some notes and getting things situated for the spiritual class, and so yeah, definitely that is something to check out, and I will put the link to the page that is now live in the description of this video so you'll have access to it. Also, I want to take a moment and say hello to my friend Jess. I hope that you're resting well, and I hope that you're having sweet dreams. Emily is here with us. She's saying hello. So yeah, the title of this video, I want to get into this content. I've taken several pages of notes, so we'll just see how long it takes to go through it all. But this entire post is all about depression and anxiety. I'm making this post primarily because of signs and synchronicities. I can't tell you how many other posts I have seen on YouTube and on Facebook and other places recently where people have talked about struggling with depression and anxiety. So I felt pushed and encouraged via spirit, to sort of put some information out there. Also, I will say, and I'll mention that at some point here via these notes, this information is coming from two different perspectives. On one hand, it's coming from my own personal experience, and on the other hand, it's channeled information, strategies and things, information that has come to me from spirit. So my point here in saying that is there's no ego here. This is in no way about me. Also, it's important, I will say, there's no judgment here in any of this. If you are struggling with depression or anxiety, if you take nothing else from this video, take this spiritual truth. There's no relevance in you feeling judged by another person or you judging yourself for what you're going through. It's a powerful and difficult thing to experience. So yeah, I wanted to put that out there. Before we go any further though, I'm going to ask you to do me and potentially you, your own self, a favor. Pause the video right now, get out a pen and some paper and make a list. Basically what this list is going to be composed of are things that you would do and experience if the depression and the anxiety were not there. I mean, if you were free, if you could wake up in the morning and those things were no longer there, if you had the money and the finances, and the opportunity to do what you wanted to do, and particularly, things that the depression and the anxiety affects you or gets in the way of you doing. Like I said, pause this video and make a long list of things that you want to do, things that you would do. When you get your list done, obviously, hopefully, if you are inclined and interested in this information, then, continue watching the video, and we're going to move forward into what has come through. So yeah, if you're back here, I'm just going to include this information. The thing is, it may sound silly, but it has been my own experience. Simply writing something down can be a very powerful, magical act. I can't tell you why. I haven't done super amounts of research on the subject matter, but I can speak from my own experience via my own personal path in saying I've learned how to channel things that have come true, things that I have written down. That also ties into affirmations, which we will get into near the end of these notes. So, but there again, just be mindful that the things that you write, putting that down on paper, it is a magical act. I'm getting cold chills now, even though Emily is really hot and it's really hot here. So yeah, putting that down on paper is powerful. So take that for what you will. Also though, and I wrote this in these notes, understand, and here's another spiritual truth, accept it for what it is, allow it to aid you and benefit you. If you make the list that I mentioned just a second ago, And if you open yourself up to the information in this video, you will make progress. You will be able to move forward. It will not be a shift likely that happens overnight, especially where depression and anxiety are concerned. There are no easy fixes for these conditions. It's because they're complex, and we're going to go through a lot of the complexity of it via the notes of this video. But yeah, just be mindful of that and understand that there's a truth there. That information specifically came through to me from Spirit. I'm getting more cold chills here. Make your list. Be open to the information that's coming through. Be willing to do some of the work, and you'll be amazed at the shifts and changes in your life. So yeah, to really get into the heart of this and begin, I'm going to share with you some of my personal background. The importance here is that you need to understand what I said earlier about talking from personal experience. This isn't just like some whim where I saw that someone had posted some stuff and then I was like, oh, I'm going to throw my 2 cents in. Literally in my past, I have gone through decades of struggle with depression and anxiety. There have been times where I couldn't leave my house, where I couldn't be around other people. I have lived for years in isolation where I did not go out. Like it wasn't a part of my life. I couldn't do it. So yeah, that I felt like that was important to be included in this video so that you know and understand. I mean, I'm not just talking here, for the fun of it. Like, these are things that I have gone through, and the information that I'm sharing with you is information that came directly to me from Spirit. So there again, it is powerful information, and it helped me. My desire and my hope is that in watching this video, you will take some of this information to heart and use it for yourself in your own life and be able to move forward, because that's ultimately the goal. Let's see. So yeah, let's begin by unpacking some information about what depression and anxiety really are. Excuse me. It's a sign that I need to smoke another. So at the core, depression and anxiety are basically states of being created by perceptions which are tied to our emotions. It's also important to note here, these things aren't real in the sense that oftentimes we believe them to be, or we give them a realness. Thing is, like this desk that you hear me knocking on, I should knock 3 times. I think that's for good luck. I can, at least in my own experience in this 3D world, I can say this desk is real. Like, it's solid, it has a form, a color, and all this stuff. The thing though with depression and anxiety, especially like emotions and perceptions, all that's biased, and it's created in the self, in the mind, in the awareness. The reason to some degree that it's an illusion is because if you shift your perceptions, all those other things can change and shift as well. So they're not permanent. They don't have a solid form or a solid state. They're imagined to a degree. I'm not saying that they're not real, that the feelings aren't real, but I'm saying the perception of them is self-created. That's the heart of that. So here's an important note simply on that. In taking some of these practices that we're going to get into via these notes, you can emotionally and energetically shift your entire being so that the state is different. You can shift out of depression, you can shift out of anxiety. It's not easy, and it takes some work and some effort and some time, but it's possible. Also, important to note, therein, via the notes here, it's relevant to put this out there, and I've talked about this in some of my other videos, so definitely I would recommend, if you're new to the channel, go back and watch some of the other videos, because I've went into depth on the importance and the power of belief and perceptions on identity and all that. So that'll be helpful. But the thing here is, it's really important for you to adopt a belief where you think and know to yourself, the knowing is powerful, know that one day you will be able to shift. Know that one day all those things that you wrote, and I'm getting more cold chills now, all those things that you wrote down on your list that you want to do and have and experience in your life, whatever they are, it doesn't matter. You can move into a place where all those things are a reality, and the depression and the anxiety, it's not necessarily completely destroyed or gone away, But you, at that point, when you're doing those things on your list, you've shifted yourself into a place where you're practicing self-mastery, where you're in control. And when you get to that space, you can do anything. I mean, all the doors are open. So that's ultimately where you want to go. So yeah, like I said, an important thing there that I have found from my own experience and from talking with other people who go through depression and anxiety, oftentimes people will identify with either one or both if they're dealing with both. When I say that, basically what I'm saying is they've got this self-dialogue going on where they will say to themselves, oh, I'm depressed, or oh, I have anxiety. Because I have anxiety, I can't go to this party and hang out with these people, or I can't go to a concert and listen to this band that I want to listen to, because my anxiety will kick in and I'll freak out and it'll be bad. Harken back to what I was saying a while ago. I have had these experiences. Spirit taught me how to change the way that I live and who I am and how I view myself. Now in my life, I can do all of those things. I don't have my list here in front of me, but that's just it. Like, you can shift out of that. So the importance there is, don't allow yourself to move into a thought space where you have that self-dialogue and that identity. Like, don't allow that to be a part of yourself. Now, you can say something like, well, I'm going through depression. I'm feeling anxiety. And that can be a truth, and that's okay, because going through it or feeling it is something that you can let go. But if you say something like, oh, well, I'm depressed, or I have issues with depression all the time, or there again, I have anxiety and it limits me. Be careful of what you say, particularly to other people, and also that self-dialogue that you have, because it's powerful. It makes a difference. Okay, so yeah, let's stay on the note here of depression itself. And this is not a revelation per se. Sorry, talking so much, I need some more tea. One thing here, when we're depressed, we tend to focus on the negative, and we also tend to sort of follow that in a spiral or a cycle. At least that was my experience. Like, my depression, it wouldn't be a thing where I was depressed one day and then I was over it and I was like, oh, okay, it's great. It would start and then it would get consistently worse and worse and worse. Or there were times when it would reach this place where it was just this very straight line of just depressed, just not well, not feeling good, unhappy, But it was just this emptiness and this hopelessness, and not a really good thing. But so it's important there, though, to understand and to be conscious of that cycle and that feedback loop. The thing is, the longer that you stay in a depressed state, the more you're creating that reality within yourself, and the more that you're feeding into and connecting to those emotions and those feelings, and it becomes a spiral. And just like pouring gasoline on a fire, it will continue until you reach a state where you're ready to step away from it. Wow, sorry. I may have to pause in the middle of this video, go get some more tea. So yeah, be mindful of that spiral. The thing is, you empower yourself when you realize what's going on, because then when you find yourself sort of sliding into a space, you can feel those emotions and those thoughts starting to form in your brain. If you have that awareness that it is a cycle, you can be like, oh wait, like, I don't want to go there, I don't need to do that, I don't have to be that person. So that's a part of the mindfulness. Another part of that, and I'm going to go into this, give me just a second here. The thing is, whether you're talking about depression or happiness or any other kind of emotion or feeling that you might have, not only is it to some degree internal, we internalize everything via our perception, it's also very physically based, in the sense that all of our emotions, they're interconnected to chemical components that occur in the brain. So the thing is, if you experience sadness for an extended period of time, say, several days or a week or whatever, you can actually physically, your brain will become to some degree addicted to those chemicals, and it's like any other chemical. It's like a drug. Like, then you want more of that stimulus, and so it becomes harder to break out of that cycle. That's another reason why, to some degree, depression and anxiety are sort of these pandemics. Like, they're these things that are just everywhere in our culture and in our lives, again, because they're tied to our emotions, and we can physically become addicted to feeling and thinking anything. It doesn't matter. There again, be mindful that you're in control of that. You can own that and shift it, but it takes time. So here I'm going to share one powerful tool in particular that Spirit gave me when I was trying to go through this and deal with it and shift. Spirit taught me to practice gratitude. And I'm going to go into a space here and say, like, I get it. When you're in a place of depression and sadness, it's really hard to sort of shift your thinking and your feeling and be like, oh, well, I'm grateful for, the fact that I've got a roof over my head, or I'm grateful for, my bed, or, Emily, my cat, like, whatever it is. The thing is, you can start very simple. What I have found, and some things I've even found online, like people have done studies on this now, gratitude can actually rewire the brain. Go back to what we talked about a minute ago, where we have become chemically addicted to the sadness. You can become chemically excuse me. You can become chemically addicted to gratitude, to love, and to joy, and to light. And when you move into those spaces, it's amazing. Like, you begin to manifest and draw miracles and friendships and love and, like, very positive experiences into your life, because it's all interconnected. The state of being that you maintain within you, like your emotions, your views, your perceptions, all of that, it manifests out there in reality, and you will draw things, situations, people, experiences to you that reflect whatever state you're in. So there again, if you can move into a space of gratitude, super helpful. And what Spirit taught me is to do it daily. It's powerful if you are willing to take the time and write it down. You don't have to. The way that I practice mine is through prayer. Usually I will do it at night before I go to bed, or in the morning when I get up and I do my prayers, because I have prayers at both times. But there again, I'll just close my eyes and I go through a mental list, and I'm speaking in prayer to Spirit as I do this. And so it's like, as I said earlier, thank you, Spirit, for this day. Thank you for the breath of life. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for love and laughter. And thank you for the beautiful weather that I experienced today. Whatever it is, find things that you can be grateful for and work to shifting your emotions, even if you only do it, even if you're only feeling good for that small amount of time that you're going through the list. On a long enough timeline, that will help. And like I said, you're beginning to rewire your perceptions, which is really powerful. So yeah, that's sort of the paramount of what I wanted to go into with depression. Now we're going to shift focus a little bit and talk a little bit about anxiety. The thing with anxiety, like I said earlier with depression, it's complicated. The reason that there are no easy fixes for this stuff is because you're talking about things that are interconnected on multiple levels. Here, especially with anxiety, is a really powerful way to go into some of those examples, because with anxiety comes down to a sort of state of being, and it's internal, but it's oftentimes caused by a multitude of other things. You're talking about stimulus. Some of it's internal because it comes down to our perceptions of things and whether or not we've chosen to be reactionary. But also some of it is physical. It's crazy things that people are doing and saying out there in the world, and our lives and our circumstances and all that. So you have those components. Also though, and this is really important, some of it is spiritual and energetic. So I want to touch on the spiritual and the energetic here first. The thing is, I've mentioned this in some of my other videos. If you've watched them, you already know. over the past few months and really years, there have been cosmic shifts that have occurred, and basically, as these shifts have happened on a global scale, like the consciousness has been shifted. All of us, like interconnected, the global consciousness has shifted. In process of these shifts, there have been energetic changes. Basically, people are waking up, and their intuitive and empathic abilities, because we all have them, they're strengthening. What, to some degree, what this has caused is like a hyper sensitivity. Like, most people now are much more sensitive to other people, and the thing is, you're picking up on an intuitive and on a spiritual level, like other people's thoughts and feelings and energies, of vibrations that they're sending out, and things in your environment. Whether you're even fully conscious of it or not, it's still coming in, and all of that input affects this anxiety that you feel. Like, you'll have physical sensations, and some of it's mental. So, but yeah, be mindful of that. What we're going to get into here in the notes are ways that you can move into changing some of that and working with that. Okay, yeah. So there are some tools that Spirit taught me to work, specifically with the anxiety. One of which is a daily grounding process, and this is something that I do every day. Every morning when I wake up and I'm going through my prayers, a part of that prayer is calling out and reaching out to Spirit. Then I'm just going to say the prayer here. It's easier for me to do that than to try to share it with you in text. So give me a moment here, and then we'll ground together. So yeah, we'll do this. I call out to you, Spirit. I ask, Spirit, that you please hear my prayer. Spirit, I ask that you please lend us your energy and your presence and assistance. I ask, Spirit, that this grounding prayer work not only for me, but for all those who are watching this video right now. Help them to feel the power and the energy being transferred. Help them to know that they can adapt this prayer or this practice in their own lives to help them move forward for their highest, greatest good. Let us move into the prayer. Spirit, I ask that you please ground and connect my energies to the crystalline core at the center of the new earth. I ask, Spirit, that you please connect my energies to you, as you are the source of all things. Spirit, I ask that you please help and allow these energies to flow through my body so that they balance and harmonize my mind, my body, my spirit, and my soul. So that they balance and harmonize and properly align my chakras, my energy bodies, and my light bodies. So that they completely ground, balance, and harmonize my spiritual and my physical bodies. Thank you, Spirit, for this day. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your love and your light. Thank you, Spirit, for this channeled information in this video. Thank you for all the viewers who are seeing this. I ask again, Spirit, that you please reach out and help and aid them in their own struggles with depression and anxiety. I ask, Spirit, that you please bless them, help them to know and to understand that they are in control, that they can reach a place where they can live their lives free of these conditions that have been limiting them. Thank you again, Spirit, for your love and your light. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for being with us. In your name, Spirit, as above, so below, so mote it be. So mote it be. So mote it be. Okay. Thank you for sharing in that prayer with me. So yeah, that's what I do, that every morning. The part about the connecting and the energies and the grounding, that's a part of my prayer every morning. And I have noticed there are some days where, I wake up late, or I've got a lot of stuff to do. My mind is sort of not focused and centered where it needs to be. Occasionally, I will forget to do the grounding. And so then in the middle of my day, I'll start to notice, I'm sensing strong emotions from other people, or my own thoughts or feelings are just sort of scattered and they're everywhere, or I'm feeling, like something's off. And then Spirit, most of the time, Spirit will bring through that channeled message and that information of, you didn't ground this morning, and it's sort of like, it's not in a judgmental way, but it's as if to say, you need to go and take care of that. And so normally, if I can, I'll stop whatever it is that I'm doing, and I'll go and do that prayer and do the grounding, and then I'm back where I need to be. So yeah, that was very powerful for me. Another thing I will tell you, and this is super useful, especially for not only working with the anxiety, but also to some degree the depression, start a daily practice and habit of meditation. You can do meditation like in 20 minutes a day, like set an alarm on your phone. The way that I do mine is I just simply lay down, I'll close my eyes, and then usually what I'll do is I'll call out to Spirit or some of the other spiritual beings that I work with. Recently it's been Lucy, and I'll ask Lucy to guide me through a meditation. And there's just a ton of benefits from meditation in general, but particularly what meditation does, it helps you to move into a space where you feel calm, but it also helps you to connect to that personal power that we were talking about earlier. When you have that firm connection, that belief and that knowing that you can do this stuff, like I said, the doors are open. So yeah, those are two things specifically that Spirit brought through to me that helped both with the depression and with the anxiety. So yeah, ultimately, with both depression and anxiety, as I said a second ago, what you want to do, the ultimate goal here is to move into a space of self-mastery and control. Having said that, and I say this a lot of times in some of my other videos, this doesn't mean denying how you feel. You don't have to live in an oblivious state, and it doesn't mean turning your feelings off. What it means is understanding that you're in control and know that you can have a strong emotion, whether it's sadness or fear or anger. You can let that flow through you, but then you can also let it go. Like you can reshift your focus to a balanced state so that you're not carrying that. That's the biggest issue, like we were talking about earlier with depression, is that it becomes an addiction and a cycle that just continues and continues, and it snowballs. So that self-mastery that we're talking about here, that gives you the power to feel sad if you want to feel sad, and then let it be what it is. Know that you can shift into another space, as we talked about before, find gratitude or find joy or enjoyment in something else, and you don't have to carry that, man, because it's irrelevant. You can just let it be what it is. So yeah, you are ultimately in control. Also, I have here in the notes, with anything that you do in life, particularly I will say when it comes to things like self-mastery and the practice of magic, you ultimately have to be willing to do the work. Prayer is powerful. If you go into prayer, if you have a spiritual path, if you believe in spirit in some form or another, it doesn't matter if that's God or the goddess or whatever form that takes, you can call out to these beings and ask for help, and they will help you. At the same time, it's been my experience that they also expect us as human beings to be willing to do some of the work to help ourselves. So be mindful of that. Be willing to do the work that you need to do to shift things. And here are some other smaller things that Spirit taught me to do in conjunction with, the meditation and the mindfulness and the gratitude. One thing in particular that I've done, and I noticed there was a contrast, for me at least, during those times, especially when my depression was really extreme, I would get into spaces where I didn't want to get out of bed. I mean, I didn't want to exist in this world, whether you're talking about dealing with pain or sadness or just that feeling of hopelessness. Normally, when you're in those kind of spaces, it's hard to step out of that and be like, oh, well, I'm going to go do my dishes or clean my house or like do something that's good for me. But that's exactly what you need to do. I have found that keeping, this room clean or keeping the rest of the house clean, it just helps energetically to keep me in a positive space. The thing is, like we were talking about earlier, depression to some degree can snowball, and little things can affect you that will quickly shift you into that space. So if your surroundings are a mess, if your house is in a mess, then you're going to see those things in your environment. You're going to be picking up on the energy of that mess, and it does have a resonance. It has an energy and a vibration, but also on an emotional and an intellectual level, you're going to be sad. You're going to be like, oh man, this place looks like crap, and I don't feel like doing anything with it, and so that makes me sad because it looks like crap. And you see, you got another cycle going on. So yeah, keep your space clean. Even one of the things that I found, especially for me early on when I was learning to do some of this stuff, is it's that whole thing from those very cheesy Nike commercials with the check. I'm not getting paid by Nike in this video, sadly. If I were, that would be awesome. But yeah, it's that whole cliche statement of just do it. Spirit has taught me that, and I will say, especially working with Lucy, she is all about just doing it. So even if you're depressed and you feel bad, take that list out that you made earlier and understand that if you do some of this work, you can make these shifts and you can be that person who goes and does all of those things. But it starts with small steps, like cleaning your space. Also, I have here in the notes just general self-care, taking care of yourself, doing things that you know are good for you, eating fruits and vegetables, drinking water, staying hydrated, stuff like that. Also, though, there's something I wanted to interject here. This is something that I have noticed in some spiritual groups. I've seen it posted on Facebook, and basically what Spirit taught me is that this is the wrong way to go about it. So that's why I felt like it was really important to include it here. The thing is, some people in spiritual circles will tell you things like, oh, if you feel bad, like go to the store and get yourself some ice cream, watch a comedy and just like, do whatever you got to do to not feel bad. That in and of itself, I don't think is improper advice. What I will say to you, be mindful that you don't move yourself into a space where you're just distracting yourself. Because like we were talking about a while ago, the ultimate goal here is to move into that space of self-mastery. That comes from the mindfulness. That comes from being attentive to your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions, and moving into a space where you're no longer triggered for extended periods of time. But if you only self-medicate and you don't move into that place of personal power, then you really haven't gone anywhere, because you're still being affected by this outside stimulus. And at the same time, the joy and the goodness that you're feeling, to some degree, that is also an illusion, because it's solely coming from the little practices that you're doing. Like you're not shifting into an emotional and a spiritual place where you can start doing the things that you want to do on your list, because inherently the depression is still there and the anxiety is still there. So you haven't made any progress. So that's just what I'll say there. Definitely do some of those things if they help you, but be mindful that you do the other stuff too, because ultimately what you want to do is make the shift. So let's see here. We're winding down on the notes. Yeah, I would say, going back to what I said just a second ago about that list, it's super important for you to make that list, post it up on the wall somewhere, and when you do, look at it every day. But here's the thing, like, don't look at it from a state, like an emotional place of looking at that list and being like, oh man, I wish I was there, I wish I could do that stuff, now I feel depressed because I can't. Like, that won't serve you. That mindset and that view, that perception, that's not going to serve you at all. What you want to do with that list is look at that and say to yourself, I can do those things. I can be that person who has these experiences. Let it motivate you. Like, I mean, I'm getting very strong cold chills now. Let that be part of the drive that helps you to do the mindfulness practices, the gratitude, the meditation, the other work that you need to do to ultimately regain that self-control. When you can do that, there again, hell, you don't need the list anymore because you're living that life. You're doing those things. Also, I'm going to interject and include, I've got this in the notes here, along with your list, like those goals, another super powerful thing that you can do, and this is also going to sound hokey, Affirmations. You may have heard of this, if you're connected to other spiritual groups. When I'm talking about affirmations, I'm talking about, with the rest of this stuff, it's from my own personal experience. So I'll share a little story. I'll try to keep this short. When I started to learn how to hear spirit and channel some of the information coming to me, I still had some levels of doubt, and I was very new to the notion of learning how to read cards or connect to spirit or to live a spiritual life. But I came across a video, and I can't link you to it because it was done on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure that person is no longer on Facebook, or like you can't get to the video. So, but anyway, I'm giving her credit here because her video was an inspiration to me, and spirit led me to the video. So, but in her video, she talked about making affirmations, and I felt those cold chills, and I'm getting them now. I took her advice, and I made a thing on my wall. It's still there now. I'm going to read it to you. This board that I have with my affirmations, here's what it says. It says, I am a healer. I am a gifted psychic medium. And I mean, this is pretty big, like, page that I made here in big bold letters, and they're colorful. I used a special font. And when I made those affirmations on that paper, I put that energy into that I will be these things, I can do these things. And now I do all of these things. The spiritual work that I do now, I can channel spirit, I can bring through messages, I can read oracle cards, and I have done powerful healing and energetic work with other people. And I've never been trained to do any of this stuff. Spirit taught me how to do all this stuff. But that's what I'm saying. Affirmations are super powerful if you allow yourself to believe in them, and if you do them. And there again, if you're going to work with affirmations, it's important. Put that on your wall and then look at it every day and say it aloud. It's going to seem hokey, and it might be weird, if you're sharing space with another person or whatever, but you just got to tell them, look, I got to do what I got to do for me, So, but yeah, every morning when you get up, spend 10 minutes. Whatever affirmation that you put up there, say it 3 or 4 times out loud. Know it, feel it, and believe it. It will manifest. That's how it works. So yeah, affirmations are really powerful. And I say that because you can use that concerning the depression. You can make affirmations that move you out of that space. You can say an affirmation like, I live a happy and abundant life. However you want to word that it works for you. Just make sure that it is an I am statement. You don't want to put something like, maybe one day I'll feel better. I mean, that's has a different vibrational frequency, and that won't really work for you. It needs to be a powerful intent of, I am this. I'm doing that. I'm being this. There's where the power lies. So yeah, I think that we virtually just about went through all of these notes. As a final note here, I just have what I was talking about earlier. You need to understand and believe depression and anxiety are manageable. The more that you work on shifting your perspective, your thoughts, and your feelings, moving into that space of gratitude, also moving into a space of ownership, that personal power, then you're there. It sounds simple to say. It takes a while to adopt these practices. It takes a while to deconstruct that identity that you might be carrying around of, oh, I am this person, or I have this affliction that's always going to interfere with me in my life. On a long enough timeline, if you work and focus on these things, you can let them go. Because there again, the important thing there, you want to break that cycle of emotions, and whatever way that you have to do it, let go of the sadness, let go of the anxiety, the fear, whatever it is. Break that cycle and then adopt a newer cycle of, like I was talking about, gratitude, happiness, joy. The more that you feel those things, and do your best to draw those emotions, those thoughts and perceptions into your life, the easier it will be, because as I said, on that chemical level in the brain, you'll become addicted to those feelings, and on a spiritual and energetic level, you're going to draw and manifest those things to you. There's something else here that's trying to come through, so give me a moment here to just try to breathe and see if I can pull it through. I'm going to look at these notes here because it's not actually in the notes, but I can feel it. It's in the energy there. now that I'm reaching for it, it's like I'm putting up that mental and emotional block. I've just got to like be at peace and let it be what it is. So let's just stay here a second and see. Okay, so here it is, man. That's how it works. Another part of this, and this is not here in my notes, but let's go back to the power of perception. Another thing that inhibits us from stepping into that place of personal power and not being reactionary is judgment. Judgment that we have toward ourselves and judgment that we have toward other people. This is another lesson that Spirit brought to me, and it literally has shifted and saved my life on a long enough timeline, because it helped me to move into a space, as I said, of love and light and gratitude, where the days are enjoyable. I mean, miracles come through, signs and synchronicities and blessings, you know. Now I'm doing spiritual work where I help other people. And for me, that's super important. That's a part of my life path. I feel like that's why I've chosen to be here. But yeah, I don't have time in this video because it's run very long, but be mindful of shifting into a space where you change the way that you perceive other people. You'll note, if you've watched some of my other videos, I always try to say and put that out there: walk your own path, be who you are. There's no judgment coming from me, because that doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve you. But if I can move into a space where I have compassion and empathy for you and love, and like, if I can view you as being another human being who also has struggles and hopes and fears and desires, then I've moved into a space that I need to be in, because from that space, without the judgment, whatever you do, that's totally cool. I mean, that's on you. Like, I own what I do in my life and how I feel and all of that. So that's an important thing. I'm not going to get into it in this video because it would take a lot to unpack it. So, but those are some foundational steps and approaches to depression and anxiety that, as I said, really helped me. I can't express to you the depth and the darkness, the difficulty over the years that I have went through, the spaces that I have been in, you know. And it has been such a miracle for me to be connected to Spirit, to have this information channeled to me, and to have those blessings and that help and that assistance to move and to step out of those spaces. I'm winding this down there again. We're out of the notes, but also I'm going to throw that in there. There again, you do you. You know, if you walk your life and your path from, you know, a standpoint where you don't believe in spirituality or spirits, that's totally cool as well. But if you're open to that, I'm going to definitely suggest to you, be open to learning how to read cards or connect and channel with Spirit. The reason I say that is because you can gain insight and perception, wisdom and enlightenment from beings that exist beyond our human condition. And in doing so, I mean, there again, you're being gifted keys to experiencing life and moving through life in a way that you can't imagine as a human being, because a lot of times we're stuck in our minds and our perceptions and in this 3D reality. But it's powerful, insanely powerful. So that, harkening back to what I said earlier about the update, that is why I feel so passionate about this Patreon and connecting to people there and being able to do the rituals and the teaching, the apprenticeship and the spiritual classes, because people need to know this information. All of us have these abilities. We can all do it. All of us can move into a space where we are free and we are living the lives that we want to live. And I would say it's my bias, but I think that's where we want to be. That's what we want on a global scale all across the world. So, yeah, I think this has been sort of a long and rambly thing. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. As I said, I'm speaking from experience. I hope that you found some relevance and some resonance with the information that's been shared here. And as I said just a minute ago, like, whoever you are, however you walk your path, know and understand that coming from me, there is no judgment. I'm sending out compassion and love and light. I hope that you take some things from this video And even if you don't, I hope that you find whatever methods you need to step out of your own depression, to move into a space where you're doing and feeling better. So yeah, thank you for sharing your time and attention here with me in this video. Also, I'm going to put this out here, if you don't mind, if you know someone who is also struggling with depression and anxiety, if you feel like there's been useful information brought through in this video, please take the time to send them a link to this so that they can, judge for themselves whether they find value in it. The thing is, as I said earlier, this is not about me at all. Anyone can channel with spirit and bring this information through. But the information itself is important, and it needs to be put out there in the world so that we can shift out of these spaces. So yeah, like I said, thank you for your time and attention. Also, I want to say thank you to everyone who... I've had some new subscribers here to the channel, so thank you all for that. And for those of you who have chosen to join me there on Patreon, thank you for your presence there. Thank you for your pledge and your support. I'm definitely excited and looking forward to working with you. And I think that's all I have. So yeah, I wish you all a blessed night, and I will talk to you soon.